What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video by me, yours truly, Val here, and I'm talking to you from my family home here in Zimbabwe, Africa, and a beautiful, beautiful family home it is, guys. I'm very, very happy to have been blessed to be raised in such an amazing place. I've only recently, recently in the last few years, been able to actually appreciate the circumstances within which I was raised. Because, as some of you out there may know, and as some of you out there may not know, I have come through a great deal of addiction. All the kinds of addictions that you possibly think: porn addiction, alcohol addiction, marijuana addiction, and also other hard drugs such as cocaine, MDMA, and all these things. Yeah, MDMA definitely was a bad one. Anyways, that's a topic for another conversation. Yeah, so I was raised in very privileged circumstances, and it was, some people may think, okay, it was a blessing, and in a lot of ways it has been. I'm not going to knock it at all. There are definitely advantages and disadvantages to pretty much everything, right? I never had to worry about anything. I was very spoiled as a kid. My mom, she did everything for me. And in Zimbabwe, we have maids and gardeners, so I didn't have to wash my clothes. I didn't have to iron. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to clean my room. I didn't have to do anything. And some people would be like, "Oh, dude, wow, for you, you could have, you didn't have to do anything, and you just kind of like lived life. That's amazing. You should be very happy for that." And in some ways I am, but in other ways it kind of deprived me of growing as a human being. I ended up becoming very passive throughout my entire life. It's something I only really resolved, or even started to resolve, in my 20s. I just got hooked on there was, when I was young, I discovered, and I'm just going to say, I'm just very candid, I discovered masturbation when I was very, very young. That's a story that I will get into in a different video. And so I was addicted to masturbation and video games throughout my young life. And this has impacted me very heavily. And some people may have ended up calling me lazy, and definitely I was called lazy by my parents, by various teachers and all these things throughout my life. And I definitely started to think of myself as this lazy person. And especially with the label of lazy being so charged. I think it's one of the most intense words, actually. This is a bit harder to hold than I thought. My hands, the selfie stick is a bit harder to hold than I thought. We need to get something a little bit more comfortable, at least not extended so far. With society, I think at the world at large, I would say just Western society, but I think it's just the world at large. If you look at China, people are working like 18-hour shifts, and if you're not producing constantly, if you're not constantly working, then you're just basically seen as this waste of space in society, and just not contributing anything to the world. And it's a really toxic mentality, guys. I guess, this is what you could call the rat race. You need to be constantly producing, you need to be constantly working, and 9 out of 10 times you're going to be producing and working on things that you have no passion for whatsoever, and you're just kind of just going through the motions day by day. If you look at people in London on the subway, they're just going from point A to point B to point C, not interacting with anyone, not talking to anyone, just on their phones the entire time. They're just stuck in their own worlds, like this predetermined rail for where you need to go as a human being. And I definitely started to think of myself as a waste of space because of that rhetoric, because of that story and narrative that we're sold by society. You need to constantly be working, you need to constantly be doing something, you need to constantly be consuming or producing, or some combination of the two. And people end up consuming a lot in order to make up for all of the work that they've been doing that they don't want to do, because it's not them. and it's really hectic society. So I definitely thought of myself as this lazy, good for nothing son of a bitch. Like you're just not producing anything. You're not doing the work you're supposed to do. I mean, definitely, there was a lot of that. What was kind of true. Was true because I was a drug addict and I was an alcoholic, and all I wanted to do was sleep all day and watch series all day and watch porn and go out drinking at night. So, a lot of misplaced energy. Obviously, I wasn't lazy to do those things, but you see, that is what it is, right? Our energy, it's like I wasn't lazy for those things. Those things were easy for me to do because I programmed myself to find that easier to do, even though, honestly, getting drunk all the time is not an easy thing to do. It actually kind of hurts. Your body is in pain the entire time from all the poison you've been drinking, and you don't feel good. Like people say, "Oh, I feel good when I drink" and all that, but you don't really, dude. It's like if you're puking or you're blacking out and you're waking up with a hangover, you're really not feeling good all the time. But somehow we've convinced ourselves that that is easy for us to do, whilst actually like the productive things are difficult for us to accomplish. And that's why I've reclaimed the title of lazy, because I feel that the word lazy has been given a bad rap to a certain extent. I still think of myself as lazy, I don't know, like I think it's actually a good thing to be lazy. You know why? Because I feel like I've never been able to do things that I don't want to do, not for any sustainable period of time, you know. And so I feel like part of my destiny in this world, part of the work that I'm supposed to do, is to find the easy way to do quote unquote hard things. I often use the example of an MMA fighter when he's getting into the ring. A lot of people who've never been fighters in their lives, they look at these guys in the ring and they're like, yo, that's so difficult. I'd never be able to do that. And but for the MMA fighter, it's like, it's his job. So it's for him, it's easy to get into the ring and do what he needs to do. But then you put that same MMA fighter in front of like accounting books, and he'd probably really struggle with that, guys. So, and vice versa, the accountant in the MMA ring is going to really, really struggle with that. And so what is easy and what is difficult? For an MMA fighter, doing the accounting is going to be difficult. For the accountant, getting in an MMA ring is going to be difficult. Obviously, I'm generalizing because I'm pretty sure that there are some accountants that are MMA fighters and vice versa. So there probably be some crossover and all that, but I'm just using this as an example, maybe a little bit of an extreme example, but an example nonetheless. So I like to think of myself as lazy, and I like to think of lazy as actually being good, because it's fueling me to find a way of programming myself to be the person that makes difficult things easy. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it, guys, because for a very, very long time, I was not able to make these videos consistently. I was trying to take the discipline route. I was trying to take the hard route. I was trying to tell myself, stop being lazy. You need to go and do the work. And every time I'd do the work, I'd manage to do it for a little bit, but I'd always find a way to self-sabotage and bring myself back, And that's because at core, I felt that a lazy person cannot be productive. So I had to discipline myself. I had to use outside force to make myself make this video. Whereas nowadays, instead of like using outside force to make myself make this video, I am just a person who makes videos. I find this very useful. There's this one paradigm that's called, there's 3 different paradigms of, say, the stages of mastery. The first is that you are in the have or have not paradigm. I'm either able to do this or I'm not able to do this. The second would be the doing paradigm, which means that you are doing the thing, but you're not the person that does the thing. So if you're not doing the thing constantly, then you feel like you're not the person who does it. That's like a discipline route, you know? So it's like I need to make a video every day. As soon as I don't make a video on a certain day, which can happen because you can get ill, you can get involved in an accident, certain circumstances may prevent you from making a video. And then once you violate that very rigid rule that you've created for yourself, now you're going all the way back. But then what happens, guys, is if you do things right and you really program your identity and you really become the person that would do the thing that you want to achieve, well then, that you've achieved the lazy man's way of doing things, because now you don't expend any energy when you are producing, when you are doing the thing that you actually want to do, because you are the person that does it. That means you can turn off and on at a moment's notice. That's true mastery, because now you have a choice. You're not just like hooked on it. You're not hooked on the structure. So for me, it's like I choose to make a video every single day. However, if by some chance I had to miss a day, it wouldn't put a dent in me, because my identity is that of somebody who makes videos. And if I am somebody who makes videos, it doesn't even matter that I just didn't make a video on one day. I'm still that guy. And that's why it's been easy for me to keep up with this. Before, I was trying to force it. I was trying to, it was just a lot of grinding, guys. And I don't want to be part of the grind, because I told you, I'm lazy. I'm really, really lazy. So it's part of my purpose, guys. I feel like I was supposed to go through the grind to realize that going through the grind is not the way to do it. You actually have to have that identity level change. So I'm very happy that I was lazy. I had to go through hell for many, many years before I figured out and accepted and gave lazy a new meaning. Maybe lazy means innovative. If you see yourself as a lazy person, maybe the things that you feel lazy about, that you don't want to do, are not the things you're supposed to do. Maybe you're supposed to be working on something else. Or like with me, in my case, I feel like I was supposed to go through that so I could figure out the easier way, changing my mind rather than discipline, to get the things to manifest, really, to manifest the things that I want to manifest in my life quickly, instead of quickly, or maybe consistently, I would say, rather than having to go through the grind of disciplining myself of disciplining myself and calling myself names and shaming myself for not being productive enough, and all this negative self-talk that I was going through in order to get myself to perform. And that's what it was. It was a performance, because I wasn't actually that person. And that's a hazard, guys. We really, really need to start to understand that maybe discipline isn't the way to go. Maybe shaming yourself is not the way to go. Maybe we need to start to find an easier way of doing the things, For me now, it's hard for me to go, and it would be very difficult for me to go have like a box of cigarettes like I used to every day. I feel like absolute rubbish. For me, it would be much more difficult for me to go and get drunk every single weekend like I did before, because that would hurt. Like my body would be sore and I feel negative and all that. So making the video for me now is easier. Whereas for a while, I couldn't even make a consistent video every single day, because I thought that doing this was hard, because I wasn't the person to do it. If you get what I'm saying, guys, give this video a like. I love you very much. I think I've covered everything that I need to cover in this video. If any of you out there feel like you're a little bit lazy, maybe it's time to reframe that. Maybe change the way that you see the identity of lazy. Maybe it's a good thing, guys. Maybe you're an innovator. Maybe you're an innovator. Maybe you want to find the easier way. I will carry on talking about how I am finding the easier way every single day to do the things that I once thought of as difficult, that I once perceived of as difficult. But at the end of the day, it just depended on who you are. Just dependent on who you are. Okay, if you're an addict out there, you just need to find a way of seeing the reality about behind what you're doing. Switch it around. Doing drugs every single day is actually very difficult. Do the easy thing. Live life on easy mode. Why are you making things so darn hard? Anyways, guys, have a wonderful day. Rant over. I will see you in the next video.